do you handle negative emotions from pain and trauma and stress and troubles in your life? Do you bottle it up inside and allow it to fester where it can make your soul and your body sick? Or do you allow it to just come out in unfortunate ways and places and spaces? There are so many methods and strategies to deal with stress and problems in our lives, but there is no method, there is no strategy more powerful than learning to pour it out to God in prayer and allow Him to bring change in your situation. I want to share with you what Hannah did in 1 Samuel and how she used her prayer to pour out all of her stress and problems, and God literally shifted her entire situation as a result. I want to walk you through what Hannah poured out and how her prayer brought about shift in her life so that you can apply it today and bring divine shift and change in your life. The first thing that Hannah poured out was stress. Hannah was in a very stressful situation. You see, she wanted to be able to have a child, and she wasn't able to produce and multiply and be fruitful and productive in her life at the capacity that she wanted to. And she had a loving husband who was with her, but together their relationship was not able to produce what Hannah wanted to see with the vision for her life. And it was very stressful to her. And stress can have layers to it. And Hannah's situation of stress had layers to the situation, unfortunately. You see, Hannah was not only dealing with the hurt and the pain of not being able to produce a child with her husband that she wanted to, but Hannah's husband had another wife. Her name was Peninnah, and she had multiple children with Hannah's husband. So Hannah literally had to watch this woman have children with her husband and enjoy the things that she wanted with the man that she loved. And Hannah was not able to do that. And she felt very bad about herself. She felt like she was the problem because this other woman is able to have children with him, but I'm the wife that's not able to do this. And it made her very sad, very stressful, and was very wearing on her. Now, this situation had another layer to it because the other wife, Peninnah, took advantage of Hannah in this situation. And she used the unfortunate situation that Hannah was in to attack her and attack her life and torment her with teasing her and making her feel bad about herself and calling her names and mistreating her because of what she was going through. And this was very painful to Hannah that she had to walk through this situation. And so when you are dealing with a situation of intense stress and it has layers to it, it can be very wearing on your soul and on your body. And when Peninnah took advantage of Hannah and beat her while she was down, it pulled and pushed and wore down on her and made this a very toxic and painful level of stress for Hannah to have to carry and deal with. And so in her prayer, Hannah was literally pouring out the stress of what she was dealing with because of her inability, having to watch this other woman have what she wanted with her husband, and also being teased and attacked by this other woman for what she was going through. And so Hannah had to pour all of that stress out to God. Hannah also had to pour out bitterness. You see, bitterness is a funny thing because bitterness is when you feel like you don't deserve to be dealing with this. You feel like what you're going through is unjustified. And I'm sure Hannah wanted to know, why me? Why am I the person that's not able to have children with this man? Why am I the wife that's not able to produce? Why am I going through this? And so when we're going through things and we don't understand why us and why we're the people that's going through this, sometimes we can question God. Why did God allow this to happen to me? Or we can question our family or friends or the people around us. Why did you allow? Why am I the one that's going through this and not them? And maybe if they had done this, this wouldn't have happened to me. Or maybe if they have done things this way, this wouldn't have happened to me. And we have to remember that there is an enemy of our soul, and he has come to steal, kill, and destroy. And Hannah had to pour all of that bitterness out. She could not keep that bottled in anymore because it was wearing down upon her. Hannah also had to pour out being misunderstood. It's very hard to be misunderstood. And Hannah had a husband that loved her tremendously. And he said to her, I'm better to you than 10 sons. I'm doing more for you than 10 children would have done for you. What do you want these children for when you got me? I'm the best thing that's happened to you. And he did not understand that it wasn't about his love that Hannah was crying about. It was the fact that she wasn't able to fulfill the vision she had for her own life. And sometimes it can be very hard to be in a room full of people that love you and care about you, but they don't understand what it is you're going through in your own life. And sometimes you can't even express it and explain it yourself because you're dealing with such stress and you don't even understand the fullness of the capacity of what you're going through and the magnitude of what you're dealing with and how you're having to carry this. You don't even know how to put it into words for other people to understand. And so that is why we have to be like Hannah and pour it all out in prayer to God, especially when we're misunderstood, because you can feel very isolated and very alone when you're going through something and nobody around you understands what it is that you're going through. Hannah also had to pour out her desperation. Hannah was very desperate, and we all know that people can take advantage of a person that's desperate. When you look at what happened with Jacob and Esau, Esau was so hungry, he was desperate for a plate, and his own brother took his birthright in exchange for a plate of food from him because he was so desperate. And when you become desperate, people can take advantage of you and use you and abuse you when you're weak and when you're down and you're not able to get up and fight for yourself because you're so wounded from being desperate, and you would give anything to get out of this situation and move away from this pain and this uncomfortable place. And the only person that will not take advantage of you when you're desperate and when you're trying to escape a very difficult situation is the Lord. And so that is something, desperation, that you have to learn to pour out in prayer and not keep that inside or try to get another person to help you to get out of a desperate situation. Pour it out to God first and let him come to rescue you from your desperation. The next thing that Hannah had to pour out was her misery. Hannah was very miserable. She was absolutely miserable in that situation. She couldn't take the pressure of being in a situation where she couldn't get what she wanted. She couldn't figure out why she was dealing with it. She was being tormented from another woman. There was nobody around her that could understand what it is she was going through. She was extremely miserable in that situation. She couldn't even eat. It was affecting her mental and her physical health. And literally, the day she was in the temple, she poured all of this out to the Lord. And Eli the priest came into the temple and he saw her at the altar praying and pouring it all out to God. And he said, God has heard your prayer. You can go now. Literally, God used her prayer and her pouring out to shift Hannah's entire situation. And I want to look at exactly what happened to Hannah here, because this is very important, because this is exactly what can happen for you if you apply this in your own life. When Hannah poured out all of the misery, all of the bitterness, all of the stress, all of the trauma, all of the being misunderstood, she poured it out. God was able to fill her anew with something greater. And as you pour out that toxicity and all the negativity and cry out your heart to God, he's able to fill you with anew. And when God fills you with anew, you have a whole new atmosphere, a whole new energy around you that is now able to produce the product and the things that you are actually believing him for. You see, there is a major difference between a tornado watch and a tornado warning. Let me tell you the difference. A tornado watch means the atmosphere is right for a tornado to formulate. But when a tornado watch switches from a watch to a tornado warning, that means a tornado has actually now formulated in that atmosphere that was ready for it, and it's headed in your direction. And you need to be warned to prepare because it's coming towards you. It's the same thing as in the natural. If you want ice to form, you have to reach a certain degree or temperature of coldness for that ice to form. And it has to be in an environment for that ice to produce. It's the same thing if you're going to produce boiling water. It has to get hot enough in that atmosphere for that water to be able to bubble over. And so when the atmosphere shifts, you're able to produce what it is you need to produce. And so Hannah, by pouring out all of the negativity, all of the toxicity, all of the pain, all of the misery. She made room for God to fill her up with something new. And as a result of the newness coming in, the atmosphere was able to shift and be conducive to produce what it is Hannah wanted to have in her life. It's the same thing that the Bible says in Psalms 34:4. I sought the Lord and he heard me. You gave up all of that negativity and he heard you and delivered you from all your fears. He shifted the atmosphere to a new place where you're not in an atmosphere of fear, but now you're in a place of faith. It's the same thing that's in Genesis chapter 1. The Bible says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the earth. Darkness, the atmosphere was set for darkness. The Bible says God hovered over the face of the waters. He was in there shifting the atmosphere. He shifted the atmosphere. And so God said, let there be light. Suddenly there was light because it was now an atmosphere that was conducive to light. And when you pour out all of your pain and all of your misery, you create an opportunity for God to fill you anew and create a new atmosphere around you, one that is conducive to what it is you need in your life. And so the light had an atmosphere to be able to form. And so when you pour out everything to God, you create the atmosphere that you need in your life to be able to form what it is that you need. You can form something greater by being like Hannah and pouring out all the stress. Pour it all out to God in prayer. All of the misery, all the difficult, hard places of your life, pour it out to God in prayer and make room for him to fill you with something new so that you can have a new atmosphere around you this holiday season. You can have a new environment around you, one that is conducive to begin to produce everything that you're believing God for and everything you need in your life. And the shift and the change that you need, allow God to give you something new for a new atmosphere that is conducive to everything you're standing in faith for.